So there's four really important elements, I would say the most important elements to consider when looking at this scene. The first is this white landmark on distance. We need to know what it's doing, whether it's mirroring or if it's just lifted from its position, in reference to also how far we can see the most distant water from our location. That is the next important part to consider, and what they are in relation to each other. And then we also need to keep those two in mind while we keep in relation the closest water line of our second tier position. And that will give us our height here. And then we also need to keep in mind the tide here. And we can best do that by paying attention to whether the rocks are covered with water or not, or if they're more exposed. So by paying attention to those four objects and recognizing that not only is this our estimated camera height based on this object over here, which is a what appears to be a small dock, we can also get an idea, because we can get an idea of height based on people walking on the beach if you zoom in close as well. So there we go. That should help us. A lot of these days are very fascinating and interesting. Kind of like how on this day the water line appears quite low, but our land where it touches the water is above our line here. And our white is located right here. On this day our white appears slightly lower and our water appears slightly lower as well. And our land appears to be maybe ever so slightly higher, but on this day the land is quite a bit lower, but look at how high our white is. Our white's really high. Our water on distance can be seen over, even though our near field is dropped. This would mean that light had bent up in the near field, and in the far field it had bent up away from the surface. However, in the far field we can see that our inferior mirage is lofted well above the surface of the water, meaning that what's above it is our superior mirage, which means that just as the light had bent up in the near field, it bent up in the far field as well, a lot more aggressively, and had to bend back down and then bend back up again to provide us a lofted inferior mirage, which provides the mechanism required for rays to cross to provide us with our inverted image of the inferior mirage.